we therefore need to move from evaluating only the product to evaluating the process. That's a major fundamental thing. So the process, the judgment, the development of capability. Here we are talking from transforming, Dr. Ashraf, from having an exam to a human capability building. And that capability building doesn't come without a process and judgment and development capability. So this means gathering evidence throughout the learning journey.
This is Reimagining Higher Education, your go-to podcast with remarkable education leaders sharing personal stories from their experience in and around the sector, including reflection and hope for progress in the sector. With your host, Dr. Ashraf Mahate, consultant in the areas of international trade, export promotion, inward investment attraction and entrepreneurship, Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, and member on Studiosity's Academic Advisory Board. Welcome.
Today, I'm delighted, honored, and for me, a personal privilege to be joined by His Excellency Dr. Mansoor Alawar, who is the Chancellor of Hamdan Bin Mohammed Smart University, the first smart university in the whole region, right? And whose insights and experience, I'm sure, will help to redefine higher education in the UAE, in the GCC, and the wider region. So let's get started and welcome His Excellency Dr. Mansoor Alawar. Welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ashraf, for the invitation. I'm really pleased to join the conversation because the title, Reimagining Higher Education, reflects exactly the challenge facing universities today. We are not simply experiencing another phase of technological development. We are actually witnessing a fundamental change in how knowledge is created, accessed, and applied. For centuries, as you know, Dr. Ashraf, universities operated on the assumption that knowledge was scarce and the institution was the principal gateway to it. But today, knowledge is abundant and instantly accessible. So a student can ask an artificial intelligence system to explain a concept, simplify it, translate it, generate examples, and even test understanding, and all within seconds. This does not make universities less important, but it does require universities to redefine themselves where their real values lies. And our value can no longer rest primarily on transmitting information. It must lie in helping learners to develop actually judgment, critical thinking, ethical responsibility, creativity, resilience, and the ability to continue learning throughout life. And our value can no longer actually rest primarily on in that way. So in my view, in a nutshell, that's the essence of reimagining higher education, if it is right to say so.
I think it certainly is. And for me personally, I want to take the issues about AI in a minute, but when I have seen, what I've seen from Hamdan Bin Mohammed Smart University, it has continuously been redefining education. First as the College of TQM, then being the first smart online university. Can you take us through this journey? Because I think for the listener, this would be a valuable learning experience, because when the internet or technology started, you were the first to ride and capitalize on this whole wave.
Yes, indeed. I think the whole thing started with a vision. The vision, which was supported heavily by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, ruler of Dubai. And this journey actually started in that way. It started in an environment that did not even license such an institution. And that is why this is the difference between Hamdan Bin Mohammed Smart University and the rest of the universities who currently are actually doing it online, that we were born online. not transformed. So I think that's a fundamental issue. People asking questions about the standard, the licensure, and the Minister of Higher Education at that time, it was in 2002, did not have a clue. How are they going to license such an institution? So I think we came a long way through that direction, and it was only specified in certain areas. So we started. We dare actually to start, and the support of the leadership of this country. We need to go and to talk to the Commission of Academic Accreditation. And we were just traveling between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. I remember that time with the Ministry of Higher Education. And every time we see the commissioners at the time, we ask questions that nobody dared to ask. And every time we ask those questions, they say, that's a good food for thought. I said, sir, we need now an action. We don't need any good, good for good deed for thoughts. So I think it's a matter of a history. So we came a long way now, 24 years. We evolved, and actually we started as where others did fail actually online. I mean, they were without specifying any institution. I think that time they were universities were flying online at the time in the United States. I'm talking about 2002, and then because of the deficiency in the pedagogical approach, then the whole story of the university been a history right now. But I think what we did, we learned from the others, and we were very much focused on having a rigor kind of pedagogy. And also we do it transitional because we needed to go along with the accreditation agencies, because that was the differentiation. Because so many people claim that they have something online, but not accredited. We took it from the hardest way to go and to convince the academic of accreditation. So we started, first of all, it was a hybrid model. It was face-to-face, and it was self-paced, and then it was synchronous. But along the way, of course, as the Commission of Academic Accreditation in the United Arab Emirates, been convinced that we don't compromise on quality. That is why I think we reached a level right now that we're full-fledged online. We have 16 programs. We have right from the bachelor and the PhD and masters, of course. So I think, and we have 5 schools right now, and there are another school is joining soon. So I think that is the story.
It's amazing. It's an amazing story, as said. So many existing programs, new programs joining on board. But the other defining moment was, I think, during COVID-19, when
Yes.
other universities were struggling to find solutions to in-person classes.
Actually, Dr. Ashraf, not the universities, the whole education system worldwide, where was facing a real challenge. And I have been personally approached by the Minister of Education in the United Arab Emirates, His Excellency, it was an ex-minister, Hussein Al-Hamadi. And he said, what Hamdan Bin Mohammed can do for us. We're going to lock down in a 2 weeks time. And then they pulled the spring break 2 weeks ahead. And after that, everybody going to go online, remote and distance learning. So how can we help you? Then I said, well, we have 2 crash courses. If you allow us, Your Excellency, 2 crash courses, primitive but hands-on, nothing theoretical. The first one was how to become an online teacher in 24 hours. And the second, how to design a session in 24 hours. That was the beginning. In 5 days, the total number of teachers and faculties in the United Arab Emirates reached 65,000, joined those 2 courses. And the course was self-paced. You print your certificate once you are finished. And I think we were the survival kit for the education system in the United Arab Emirates. That's not my words. That was the words of the authoritative, entity that they said that this was a survival kit for all headmasters, principals, schools, teachers, and all this. And then we offered it also, Dr. Ashraf, in 5 languages, in Arabic, English, French, Russian, and Spanish. And that was the requirement from the ministry. So in the period of 3 months, we had more than 500,000 people in more than 100 countries.
That's amazing, Your Excellency. In 3 months, you taught 500,000 people.
Yes. Yes. And it was for us, Dr. Ashraf, let me also put some kind of, I always be teasing my staff and people who are working with us, our team, and saying, look, we should in Hamdan, we would have to put a statue of COVID virus, because that was the eye opener for the whole world, to be an online learning. You know, I mean, people were discussing about the credibility of such an approach of education at that time.
I think you were definitely the lead, because as I said, I've been following Hamdan University at least for the best part of 20 years. And I think that COVID experience of 500,000 is the first globally. I don't think any university at that time or since has taught 500,000 people in such a short space of time.
Teachers, yes.
Teachers, yes. I mean, I think that's a global record.
And we were the only university from the Arab world who joined the coalition that the UNESCO has launched at that time, along with Facebook, along with Google, along with some other universities. But we were the only Arab university who dared to be able to join that coalition.
Right. One of the things I want to talk about before I go to those two magic words called AI, and in today's world, I cannot have any interview without AI, but I'll come to those in a minute.
Yeah, sure.
The way that you and I were taught was a blackboard, chalk, right?
Yes.
How did you create a teaching ethos? And was it based on your own experience or your research that allowed you to create such an excellent academic institution?
There have been several defining moments, Dr. Ashraf. But one of the most important lessons actually came from seeing how quickly external circumstances can make established education assumptions obsolete. One of which that you have already given the example of COVID, right? So the global disruption caused by the pandemic is one example. Many institutions were suddenly forced to move online. For some, digital education was treated as an emergency substitute for the classroom. But for institutions actually that had already embraced smart learning, the experience confirmed something deeper. Education is not defined by a building. That was the first lesson. And the first experience that we came across. The real question was never whether learning could take place online. The real question was whether institutions had designed a coherent learning experience, supported by educators, protected quality, and maintained human connection. And I think another defining challenge, I would say, has been the speed of technological change. And the arrival of generative AI has shown that universities now cannot continue reviewing programs only through long cycles, while technology and the labor market evolve to a much faster pace. So a student, for instance, just have a student entering a university today may graduate into a professional environment that is significantly different from the one that existed when the program was designed. I was on a podcast in Arabic language, Dr. Ashraf, a couple of days ago. They asked me, how would you define education? I said, well, look, if I am going to join Hamdan Bin Mohammed Smart University today in 2026, I'm supposed to be graduating in 4 years. When I graduate, the whole information that I had will become obsolete. So the fundamental difference here is that what should I know? That was the question when people entered the universities. It's about question about knowledge. But now, as the AI approach, the question is not going to be about what should I know. No, the knowledge is available everywhere, like I said in the beginning. But the question is, how do I learn? How will I become a fast learner and how I adapt. So the fundamental change in the learning is going to happen. And that is where actually it irritates lots of institutions. And to those who are in the comfort zone, been doing this for the last 200 years, the AI came to change the shape of what they thought. So, this has strengthened my belief, Dr. Ashraf, that we cannot prepare learners for one fixed job. We must prepare them for repeated transitions across their working lives. And a degree remains valuable. Some people say, oh, it will be obsolete. I said, no, degree will be valuable, but no longer represent the ending of the learning. It must be the foundation of lifelong learning, relationship with knowledge and with the university as well. A further lesson, the last one, I would just, sorry about, the institutional transformation requires courage, to be honest. And it is often easier, Dr. Ashraf, to introduce a new technology than to question an old practice. That's difficult, right? It's a human nature. So it's easier to digitize a lecture than to ask whether the lecture remains the best use of the learner's and educator's time. That is the differentiation. So true innovations, from my perspective, when you are willing to examine our assumptions, not only our tools. So a university does not become innovative in my views because it uses new technology. No, because it becomes innovative when it's willing to question old assumptions.
I think that's the important point. I love what you said about a university is not defined by its building, even though universities are very grand buildings. And I like the idea about whether the lecturer is still questioning our assumptions and whether the lecturer is still relevant. When I look at my own daughters, they're at university.
Yes.
And I find that the lecturer is only one source of information for them. They go to AI tools, they go to YouTube, they go to many different sources. And that now questions the way that I think education should be delivered, right? Should it just be, is the university just one channel? Should we now re-examine other channels by which the student is getting information? And what role should AI play in this?
I think there are multi-layers in terms of when we come to education. I mean, we need to specify the dimension we are talking now. First of all, again, it's all about the products, Dr. Ashraf, which the education system should provide the society today. It's not a container of knowledge because the knowledge is accessible now.
Right.
And like you correctly said, I mean, I had a granddaughter as well. I mean, she was taking a study leave from a school when I thought in the first place, a study leave is always linked with people who are employed and they come to the university. But to get a study leave from a school to go to do whatever you have said on YouTube and the ChatGPT to be able to learn much more than the teacher, that gets you the sense of how the education system is going to be able to tolerate the traditional I'm talking about. So I think the AI is there, Dr. Ashraf, is to help how we provide and produce our services to the customers overall, generally speaking. But when it comes to the higher education system, no. And also the AI, when we talk about AI and technology, we should be very much focused on AI is not a technology. It's not a piece of technology we added to the education system. AI is coming that the whole system in the university has to be redesigned around AI. That's a total different approach. It's a disruptive one. It is a disruptive one. It is a difficult one. So that is why when it comes to AI, we have a transformational plan at HBMSU right now to become even the first AI native university. Now, that means that we have to redesign all learning journeys, all kind of how we bring up what you correctly said. You take channels of information, how these channels of information are going to be producing. And not only this, but it's a full integrated system across the university. That changes a lot of a lot of assumptions that we make about the learning itself. So one example, we were last year, according to this plan, the first thing that we introduced to AI, we got to the faculty, because the faculty at all times will become the major change makers if any university wishes to go through a transformation in that direction of AI. We assign an agentic AI for each of our faculty. And one says, what the hell the agentic AI is going to do? Oh no, is going to, first of all, we told them it will increase your productivity as a faculty. Lots of admin work. You're going to, be saving time to be able to concentrate and focus on what the new generation wants to have as a product when they graduate. You will be focusing on research. You are going to focus on innovation. You are talking about critical thinking. You are talking about, so you will be using your wisdom in directing the learning. That is where behind each agentic AI, there is a subject matter expert. There is a faculty. There's a human being. The machine will serve you to lessen your admin time, but you save that time to become much more focused on what the real learning is going to happen to the learners. So that agentic AI did three things, Dr. Ashraf. One, it helps them how to schedule and put according to the syllabi of the course, to distribute on the 15 weeks, because we are having the credit hour system. So it's a 15-week semester, a semester-based. So it does all according to the learning outcomes of the programs, of the courses, of everything. And then along the distribution on the 15 weeks, according to the syllabi again, it creates videos, it creates activities, everything that you like. That was in the first part. The second part, which is also very extremely important, is the assessment. Now, out of the syllabi, the agentic AI will create kind of a bank of questions, not one. And
Right.
also, it differentiates between those learning outcomes which deals with knowledge, or these learning outcomes which deal with skills. So the question is different. Sometimes the faculty got stuck because what the questions they're going to put for something related to the skill, outcome. So, but the agentic AI would help a lot. The third thing, which is very crucial to every single colleague around the world in the higher education system, is how you're going to update your courses, how you're going to update the information that you have said to your daughter, that how the information, different channels, and how the rhythm of updating that particular thing. That's a challenge, a big challenge to universities overall. Because I've been a chancellor, I've been doing some kind of auditing sometimes. I see the course file and says, okay, what sort of improvement that you would like? The faculty doesn't have time to go through it. It says no improvement needed. So, but now the AI would do it instantly. The most important contribution also, that when it comes to the assessment, in a minute, a report goes to the faculty, and the same report goes to the learner. The learner would receive a report about their exams and assessment that says, okay, you have these weaknesses. We will assign for you an agent to help you to learn and to fill in the gap that you have in knowledge. To the faculty, he says, look, you have asked them a question that 25% of the people did not answer. I think you need to go to the week 6 Some of the information that you asked for in the exam is available in week 7, and you are now in week 4. So pull that up and create something else. So I'm enforced as a faculty to feed in instantly to my curriculum. That's just only an example for the faculty. So our implementation revealed that 95% of the time of the faculty being saved from the admin work.
It's amazing. When I was teaching, 35% of my time was admin.
Yes, correct. And even not the admin part, but also preparation of the time of the 65 that you intend on the your net contribution to the course. The agentic AI will help you to monitor the world and how much you can go fast. So we have started with faculty, only the full-time faculty. Now we're going to extend it in the fall for the associates and for the adjunct faculty, and also the agentic AI for each learner, because the agentic AI for the learner is not going to have the concept of cheating. I mean, that's the cheating and the authentication and assessment and all these type of fine words. They're going to be disrupted, because we are, at the end of the day, you're talking about learning. You're not talking about policing. You're not talking about investigation, because sometimes our mindset is being obsessed by the way that we do business in higher education. We do our things. We see, okay, one size fits all. The exam is there. The invigilators are there. And we have to see who is cheating, who is not cheating. I mean, that the trust, I'm calling it, the trust that would going to be built between the educator and the learner is a huge by using the AI.
I'd like to come back to two of the points. The trust is something I want to come back to, but you talked about assignments and how the agentic agent helps, the AI agent helps the learner. But the question now is, looking at the journey of the learner, right? There is some kind of struggle that a lot of universities and higher education institutions have been going with what they call a final submission assignment, right? Which is usually a single paper or one essay, and that normally accounts for 20-30% of the final mark. And now the question is, a lot of universities have found that just as educators, we use AI, students are 100 times faster than us at using AI.
Thank you very much. Yes, correct. You're absolutely right, Doctor. I think there are some fundamentals here. I think for many years, Dr. Ashraf, universities have placed significant emphasis on the final product, like you have correctly said. The final essay, the final examination, final report, or final presentation, correct?
Correct.
But the generative AI has exposed a limitation in this approach. A polished final submission no longer actually necessarily tells us how much the learner understands, how the reasoning developed, how much of the intellectual work was genuinely performed by the learner, correct?
Correct.
We therefore need to move from evaluating only the product to evaluating the process. That's a major fundamental thing. So the process, the judgment, the development of capability. Here we are talking from transforming, Dr. Ashraf, from having an exam to test this approach to a human capability building. And that capability building doesn't come without a process and judgment and development capability. So this means gathering evidence throughout the learning journey. So for example, what we call in smart learning, continuous assessment. It's not just only one final exam. For example, an assessment may include the learner's initial interpretation of a problem, a proposed approach or early draft, evidence and sources consulted, even though it's an AI, and feedback received and how it was used, and revisions made, reflections on mistakes or change assumptions. So the final submission, an oral discussion or defense of the work, I will call this proof of work rather than going to have an exam and then you go and so this allows educator not to see only the learner produced, but how the learner thought. That's a major fundamental change. That is where the time of the faculty, which was saved by AI, has to be the wisdom behind the critical thinking, innovation, and what we're talking about here. It also makes assessment more educational. Instead of assessing being only a judgment at the end, it becomes part of the learning process itself. That's a fundamental change, Dr. Ashraf, in terms of how we conduct those exams. The learner receives feedback, acts on it, reflects, and improves. That is closer on how learning and professional work occur in the real life. So it's not a final answer that we are judging here. So again, in this regard, also some other questions might follow. How you'll be able to reflect authentic learning? I mean, if they are going to use the ChatGPT, Hamdan Bin Mohammed Smart University, we never stop our students to use the ChatGPT. If they're going to use it, because they're going to learn more, and they're going to be simplifying certain concepts that even the instructor couldn't simplify, and then they produce result. However, don't step back not to use, but tell us what you have used, what is your contribution, and how you judge what you have already put into place. So I believe we need to move in 5 directions into this authentication of the learning authentication. It's very fundamental in higher education. The first, from recall to application. That's one idea. I mean, if assessment primarily asks learners to reproduce information, AI will increasingly be able to perform that task. We should ask learners to apply knowledge to unfamiliar situations, make decisions, solve problems, and explain their reasoning. That's the real learning, I would call it. The second dimension is from generic tasks to contextualized tasks. That's much more harder on both sides, by the way, on the faculty as well as the learner, right? So a generic essay is easy to outsource, but a task linked to a real case, personal experience, local contextualization, professional challenge, or life project requires deeper engagement. So you are actually, again, you're assessing the process, not the product. So the third is from one final submission to multiple points of evidence. You to have a conviction as a faculty that you are actually producing a human capability and developing it. The fourth dimension is from hidden AI use to transparent AI use. That's another dimension. In many cases, actually, the question should not be, I would say, whether the learner used AI, but whether it was used appropriately. So the learner should disclose the use. That's what we are doing exactly in HBMSU. If you used it, highlight it, and get us the prompt that you have put for the AI. Because why? Because we need to make sure. We have to make sure that it's not just only putting things together. So I think that's something. The fifth dimension, to be quick, from assessment of knowledge alone to assessment of judgment. That's a tough one. People need to get trained on, I suppose.
No, I think it's amazing. And I really love this comprehensive, holistic approach that you have, because I talk to university leaders all the time.
Yes.
And I think very few of them, if any, have this really holistic approach where you are analyzing and you are constantly supporting the learning journey, right? Because again, I remember I was a student when calculators were first used, right? And educators said that we will lose our arithmetic knowledge, we will lose our knowledge to do maths. But in reality, it made the questions more difficult. We became better students because we were able to use technology, right?
Correct.
And when you see something, you can't unsee it, right? And you
Yes.
cannot stop this. Now, the other thing you mentioned, which I thought was very interesting, this word trust. I know you used to work for Dubai Police, so so what I will say is, how do you create an infrastructure so that faculty step away from policing and get back to their primary mission of teaching? Because when we did a survey at Studiosity, we found that many students felt that they were they felt that they were actually mistrusted, right? And we want to get away from lecturers becoming police officers to becoming what they really are, they're educators, right? They should get away from the investigations, but towards teaching and imparting knowledge and creating critical analysis, critical understanding.
I think there are, from my perspective, there are two dimensions to your questions, Dr. Ashraf, if you agree with me. One is, how can universities maintain trust and credibility while avoiding the culture of surveillance, right? Because that is where the academicians' part is, right? To make sure that it is authentic. So trust and academic integrity, the trust and academic integrity are not opposites. In fact, sustainable academic integrity must be built on trust, clarity, and shared responsibility. When institutions respond to AI mainly through surveillance, suspicion, punishment, they risk creating an adversarial relationship between the learner and the university. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
The learner begins to see the educator is an investigator. That's exactly describing. And the educator begins to see every submission is a potentially dishonest. I'm sorry to say these bold words, because that's exactly as academicians we feel. That's not a healthy education culture. This does not mean abandoning verification and accountability at all. University must protect the credibility of their qualifications. I agree. But the first response should be to design learning and assessment in ways that makes genuine engagement visible. For example, when an educator knows that learners work overtime, has seen the drafts, discussed the ideas, and observed the development, trust is supported by evidence.
Right.
We should also be very cautious about relying excessively on AI detection tools. Such tools can produce false positives and may not provide sufficiently reliable evidence for high-stakes decisions. Academic integrity should therefore be approached through several mechanisms, I would suggest. Clear expectations, transparent rules for AI use, better assessment design, ongoing educator-learner interaction, education about ethics and attribution, fair investigation, procedures when concerns arise, and proportionate of evidence-based responses. Integrity is not created simply, Dr. Ashraf, by catching misconduct. It's created by building a culture in which learners understand why honest work matters. That's one dimension. The other dimension, of course, the question is always, you have been asking now, how does trust should play in the relationship between the students and the educators? Trust should be foundation, but the trust does not mean the absence of standards. Sometimes we forget, if we go this way, either this way or that way. No. We have to be very precise. A strong education relationship says to the learner, I trust your capacity to learn and act responsibly. And I will also hold you accountable for the quality and integrity of your work. Trust must be reciprocal. So the educator, Dr. Ashraf, trusts the learner to engage honestly. The learner trusts the educator to assess fairly, respect privacy, provide meaningful feedback, and use professional judgment. Institutions must also learn trust, and institutions must earn that trust. If we ask learners to disclose their use of AI, we must clearly explain now their data will be treated. If we use technology to analyze learning behavior, we must be transparent about its purpose and limits. Trust is particularly, in my opinion, Dr. Ashraf, particularly important because learning requires vulnerability. A learner must feel able to say, I do not understand, or I made a mistake, without believing that every difficulty will be treated as a failure. I think someone of the deepest learning occurs when a learner reflects honestly on an error and improves. Some of the deepest and a surveillance culture can push students to hide uncertainty. A trust-based culture encourages them to confront it. So, in a nutshell, I would say academic credibility is not protected by suspicion alone. It's protected by clear standards, authentic assessment, professional judgment, and a culture in which integrity is understood as a shared value, not for some and the rest do not know about it. I hope I was clear on this.
No, that is amazing. I love this principle of bilateral trust. There has to be
Yes.
trust, right? I
Yes.
have to say, I'm sorry, I don't know. I made a mistake. This is what learning is. You know, as students, we fall down, but we have to get up and move. That is the learning part, getting up and moving, right? Dr. Mansoor, one of your main stakeholders are parents or employers who pay the fees,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So they obviously ask this question: if we can get immediate AI can produce immediate information, even polished answers, what is the value of the degree? We see even the media now saying often, so what is the value of the degree when we have AI? So how are
Yeah.
universities such as yours ensuring the long-term value of this piece of paper that you give at the end of 3, 4, or 5 years?
In a nutshell, I can say today we are actually moving from the certificate economy
Hmm.
to skills economy. So previously, people would get the certificate identifying that they have the proper knowledge. Today, the knowledge is available.
Totally.
So that means the universities are going through a disruption in their business model to be able to reskill and upskill people and to have a lifelong learning approach. So if I would just imagine the universities in 2035, right, 10 years from today, the universities, I mean, people were not going having something called registrar anymore in the university because they're going to become subscribers to a learning institution that they put a subscription lifetime with the university. They go and come back and learn, go back and learn. So the universities even were not going to be measured by how many people they graduate. No, how many graduates have returned back to the university. That's the measurement of the future, because the learning is going to happen into a lifelong learning, into a micro credentials, small skills, rather than a full degree as we used to have. This is going to happen sooner or later. I'm talking about 10 years. It might happen in the next 3 to 5 years. So this is what I believe as a person. So I think the whole landscape of higher education is going to be disrupted. And that is where the worry is. The worry is, oh, am I going to lose my job as a faculty? No. Who said so? You are the wisdom. The machine cannot be having the critical thinking. It doesn't have to have the innovation, the research, where the direction is, where the human touch is. You cannot be ignored. But your level of contribution will be different. Previously, we were always obsessed with, marking papers and then and doing these admin work, like you have correctly said. But when the technology advances, I have to go a little bit higher. And somebody said that, okay, the universities are going to be vanished. I said no. Only those universities will vanish who refuse and defend the current situation. But the universities are going to develop, approach, adapt to the change that's going to happen in the marketplace. They're going to be flourishing at that time. And even the faculty, I'm always a advocate that we as academicians, we should be the billionaires of the world. But once we redesign our learning methods, so currently we are not those billionaires, right? But currently we can be those billionaires in the economy. Once we shifted the paradigm of ours towards I think the skill-based approach of education, lifelong learning. So the university will become not only because they're set, people used to have to go to university for lecturing. Lecturing is no more needed. You need the university campuses by getting people together, working on a project, doing the research, doing the lab, doing applied the knowledge. That's where the faculty, of course, become a real mentor of innovation, a real mentor of research, a real mentor of applied knowledge. So I think what is coming for me is something unbelievable, is very joyful. For people who are in the comfort zone and they feel that they are protected by the comfort zone, I think they should go back and revisit their assumption and their conviction. So because the technology is there, I'm talking about AI per se, AI is there to help me to become as a faculty more productive, saving my time to have a real design. When we get together as faculties, ladies and gentlemen, or the people who are going to watch us, when we meet each other as educators, we're always suffering. Oh, the admin work is taking such of our time. But we go and complain in that way. And in the same time, Dr. Ashraf, when it comes now to real change, we're going to defend what we were doing. So they cannot have it two ways, right? You cannot have it two ways.
No, they want to eat their cake and also have it. But then,
Yes.
see, that's the whole problem, Dr. Mansoor. Who likes change? Because change requires effort, but leads to uncertainty, right? That's the
That's
big
correct.
problem with change.
But what it solved the problem is an institution. I'm talking about my institution today.
Right.
If I would like to have such a transformation for agentic AI, I did not say, okay, go faculty, a circular, go and apply this thing. It cannot happen in that way. So you need to create a policy, and the faculty should be part of that policy that you are going to make for a use of responsible AI use into higher education. And then we did also a training for the whole faculty. Some of the faculty were actually reluctant to accept, what is this? When they did the training, they said, why you have delayed such a thing to come to us until now? I said, okay, now you have it. Go fly with it. So I think the whole design of preparation from the leadership of the universities has to be redesigned, the policies, train the faculty. We need to build actually I would call it to empower our educators. Sometimes we don't empower them. And I think that is central question, actually. So we should not expect educators to become technology police. Their primary role is academic, to teach, to mentor, to challenge, to guide, evaluate, and develop learners. If faculty members spend excessive time trying to detect whether every sentence was written by a human or generated by AI, we are using highly qualified academic talent in the least productive way. So leadership should act in several areas. And that is why that's my talk to the leaders of the institutions, ladies and gentlemen. The several area. First, we have to redesign our assessment at the institutional level. Individual educators should not be left alone to solve the challenge. Universities should provide frameworks, exemplars, instructional design support, and disciplinary guidance. The second, Dr. Ashraf, reduce the unnecessary administrative burden. AI can be used to assist with routine administrative work, preliminary feedback, organization, and analysis. The purpose should be to create more time for meaningful engagement with the learners. The third is to provide trusted tools and clear policies. Educators need to know, Dr. Ashraf, which tools are approved, how data should be handled, what forms of AI use are permitted, and how the suspected misconduct should be addressed, and then build the professional capability. Faculty development should go beyond technical demonstration. Educators need to support in AI literacy, prompt design, verification of AI outputs, biased ethics, and so on and so forth. And the fifth is they recognize the additional work of transformation. Redesigning a course or assessment requires time and intellectual effort. This has to be recognized. And the sixth, of course, the sixth dimension, protect academic judgment. By this, I mean AI may provide indicators or recommendations, but high stakes academic decisions should remain subject to qualified human judgment. When we design, we are designing currently, and I'm happy to release this information in your podcast. We are redesigning the whole process. Is that the academic operating system we are building currently is behind a subject matter expert is the final decision maker. It's not the machine who is the decision maker. So rest in peace, everybody, because this is the actual thing. Is we have different roles than we used to have. We have to have that conviction, and we shouldn't be aware of that the AI coming to steal our job. No, I think no, in the other way around.
That's amazing. My last question, because I realize we're rapidly running out of time, is let's imagine we are now in 2037, right? And when your students look back, how do you think they will recall their experiences at Hamdan Bin Mohammed Smart University?
That's a good question. Okay, I think I hope my students, they do not remember only a series of courses, examination, grades, and certificates. That's what I think forward. I hope also that they remember that the university changed the way they think. I hope also they remember an educator who believed in their potential, challenged their assumptions, and helped them see possibilities they had not seen it before. I hope also my students, they remember that they learned how to ask better questions, how to listen, how to work with people different from themselves, how to recover from failure, how to act with integrity. Most importantly, Dr. Ashraf, I hope they do not say, my university prepared me for my first job. I don't want that. I hope they say, my university prepared me to continue growing, adapting, contributing throughout my life. That is, to me, is the most meaningful measure of education success.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been such a fascinating and enlightening session, Your Excellency, Dr. Mansoor. I think we could have gone on for another hour.
That's true, especially with academicians. I mean, and you are one of them.
Yes, and as I said, I've been a adjunct faculty at Hamdan. I've seen it grow.
I hope you're not biased, though.
No, I am definitely biased because it has a very special place for me, a very special place. And under your leadership, the institution has been absolutely amazing. It's incredible. And there are many, many more questions that I'd like to ask. I think what we'll do is we'll have another session soon. But thank you so much, Your Excellency, Dr. Mansoor.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. And thank you as a host. And I didn't expect that I would be facing someone that he hasn't experienced, so I cannot give you false information. But I think this is exactly what we are doing. We're so passionate, and I think I'm quite honored, actually, somebody like your caliber being with us, and I think we need more. We are going to open up with the agentic AI very soon, by early next year, a marketplace for all educators around the world who would like to join and how would like to be able to the knowledge will be useful for the human capability building. Yes.
I think that will be another global first, and I think, inshallah, we'll come back again early next year and see how your journey has transformed the institution.
So let me put you with the final word. We are going to launch the first Netflix in higher education.
You heard it first on this podcast.
Yes, yes. The first Netflix is not, the name is not Netflix, the engine is not Netflix, but it carries out the same thing that you people know about Netflix.
Of course.
If you watch a movie, then the AI gives you what additional movies of your taste, of your like. Similarly in education, once we're going to be able to benchmark with entertainment, I mean industry, that then we are creating something called edutain, education plus entertainment, and that's what actually put the higher education in the forefront of our new generation, especially this fall 2026. The first of alpha graduates from the high school will join colleges, and I think, ladies and gentlemen, we have a great challenge, but we are enjoying to find solutions, how to redesign the journey of higher education, to revamp it, to change the landscape of that thing. So whoever is passionate about that, welcome on board.
Thank you. And we look forward to having another session with you, Dr. Mansoor. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You have been listening to Studiosity's podcast, Reimagining Higher Education, candid conversations within higher education, sharing stories of leadership, change, and best practice in teaching and learning. Visit studiosity.com.